It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we continue the conversation about burnout, which is a term that is unfortunately becoming far too common these days, usually explained as feeling emotionally and physically exhausted. But is there more to it? Well, executive business coach Esme Witbooi now joins us to share some of her insights and advice, and we put it to you. Are you suffering from burnout right now? Well, send us your WhatsApp voice note, please, 0634088863. And we've invited someone who I'm hoping is not approaching burnout just yet, but you are probably in prime position to suffer from it. Marsha, our performer this morning, is joining us, and Zoe, who I think works unbelievably hard with about 5 different jobs, and we want to normalize this conversation, so thank you so much for joining us as well.
And I love that we're having this open discussion because burnout can happen to everyone, whether you have a stressful job, but just how serious is a burnout? Maybe I'll start with you, Esme.
Burnout is absolutely serious, and I would always recommend clients to immediately, when you are sensing you're feeling burnout, to immediately recognize and not be in denial and say, no, I'm fine, I'll just go and continue my day. But it is serious because it can just go on and on and on, and then it can actually erode into depression.
And I think this is where it becomes a cycle that repeats itself that you can't break out of. And I think that's the danger when we keep repeating a pattern in our lives.
Absolutely.
Marsha, I'm going to put it to you. You wear many hats at the moment, and it's good to be hungry. It's good to want to be kind of pushing and driving. When does that become too much? Are you aware of your own boundaries, those lines you can't cross? Or do you generally just cross that line, look back and go, OK, I need to take a break, I need to tap out? How does your system work?
I think that happens for me. I just go and look at my week and I'm like, wow, I haven't rested like one day, because I find myself so busy, literally from Monday to Sunday. There's always something happening. If it's not the soccer match I'm watching, then it's a performance. If it's not a performance, then I'm at a family gathering. So trying to find that balance is quite difficult at times, and you need to be everywhere at the same time. So it's quite tough, yeah.
Zoe, maybe you can weigh in here because, like she said, you do so much. You're up and down, you're starting early in the morning, radio in the evening. How do you find a balance so that it prevents you from getting to that stage where you are going to feel burnt out and feel overworked and just at the end of it?
Well, I think, as Esme mentioned, it's so... I think you don't recognise the first or even the second burnout you experience. And then because I've experienced it multiple times, I now know the signs. And the way I recognise burnout for myself is when there's career highlights or things that are important to me and I wish it over just so I can go home and sleep because the next day the morning starts all over again. When it's supposed to be the highlight of my week or something, I'm wishing beautiful moments to be over and done with so that I can go to bed. And that happens, and I think maybe about 2 months ago or a month ago, I could feel the signs, and I realized, you need to take a step back, you need to start slowing down, otherwise you will experience another burnout. And what helped for me was to literally take a step back, 2 weeks of no exercise, just to really regroup my energy. I had to go for an IV infusion just for some extra boosted minerals and vitamins and energy, but then also get back into meal prepping and exercising because I find that that actually gives me more energy.
And that, I know with you, structure is very important. I think that speaks to a lot of people, but every person is different. So Esme, in your coaching experience, what leads to burnout? Is it a one-size-fits-all? Are there multiple factors? Is it just lack of balance? What comes across your door?
There are really multiple factors, Graham, to be quite honest. It can be work, obviously, work stress. Also, it can be toxic environments. That leads to burnout. I had so many clients coming with those type of cases. Then we also have, it can be academic. You know, like preparing for final exams and feeling overwhelmed. It can also be just a big promotion happen, you know, to someone, and then they get burnt out, they overwork, they need to show themselves, and even the start of a new job. And also even the end of a new job, you know, or just retrenchment or unemployment. And there are common cases and factors that leads to burnout. One cannot ignore remote working. People working remotely. We had so many cases during COVID. Yes, when do you switch off? You know, being on emails 10 o'clock at night, Saturdays, Sundays. that also those factors lead to burnout. So it is it's really common. I mean, you can have an ordinary mother that is taking care of her children and is having a job and can run a burnout pattern. It's not just a working environment. It has become very common.
The norm.
It's very easy for us to say switch off and reset, but for many people you can't switch off because you have so many responsibilities. As a mom, I mean, as a daughter, as anyone in this life, you have to constantly be busy.
Absolutely.
So maybe you ladies can think about how we can combat this, ways, small steps we can start changing this and not. We're also going to be getting voice notes from you. So again, if you want to weigh in on this conversation, it's 063-408-8863. We'd love to hear from you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, everybody. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show, and we are, of course, continuing our conversation on burnout this morning and its different manifestations and what we can do to get better. So please send through your questions, your experiences. Maybe even you just want to weigh in and send out something. You can do so via our WhatsApp line. That number is 063-408-8863. Now, we still have Executive Business Coach Esme Witbooi, who's joining us to share some advice, as well as a performer for the day, Marsha, and as well as Zoe Brown, that's joining us on the panel to speak about this. But we also have someone on the WhatsApp line who wants to share her thoughts, and her name is Michelle. Let's take a listen.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and lately I have been suffering with burnout. So the problem is that once something happens, everything happens, and this is a constant thing in my life. There's just been a lot of things being put on my shoulders, and there's been a lot of things that I have needed to take care of, and my family aren't doing too well. And with regards to jobs, I've been struggling, so I just needed some clarity on how to deal with something like that when it's out of your control, when everything is out of your control.
Oh, and doesn't it feel like the world has been out of our control? I think we've been subject to so many things that we have no choice, we have no control over. When that snowball effect starts to kick in, when we are feeling overwhelmed, Esme, what should we do in a practical sense? How do we just put the brakes on and get back into the moment? What advice do you have for Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, you have to recognize what's happening with you, with your mind, your emotions, and your body. You need to understand, okay, I am not okay, and accept that I'm not okay, because I get many people who know all of these things are happening to me, but they would still be, I'm okay, I'm fine, I can do this, I've done it before, and I'm strong, and I can't. You know, you have to take a step back, because then you get to be vulnerable. You get to be vulnerable and sit and say, I need help.
And I think that's probably the toughest thing, and sounding like Michelle when she's dealing with such a complex situation around her. Maybe you don't know who to turn to. Maybe you don't know. Then speak to a professional. Speak to someone. Phone the depression and anxiety support line. Just speak to a person. We had Sharon weighing in on our WhatsApp line as well. Let's hear her thoughts, insights as well.
Hi, my name is Sharon, and I am definitely nearing a burnout. I feel that I have been overworking myself exceptionally, and it is time for me to take a break and pull myself towards myself.
Kudos to you, Sharon, for us understanding that and recognizing that. Like you said, that is always the important part, is listening to your body, listening to your thoughts and saying, you know what, I have been overworking myself. But again, how do you find the balance? Marsha, maybe you can weigh in. How do you reset and say, you know what, I can feel that I'm getting edgy, I'm nearing the end of a burnout. How do you step back and reflect?
I can totally relate to what she's saying. I think for me, when I feel I'm being burnt out, I just crash, I just sleep, and I wake up late even because I don't take time off. But it's important to just notice that, okay, you need to rest. Put in that leave, take off, go to the beach, take that drive, because it helps you just calm down and gather yourself to understand, okay, what do I need now? Do I need to speak to someone? Do I need to go away for a vacation? Or do I need to just spend time with family and just exercise, go and watch the birds in the sky or something? So I think it's very important to maybe even be selfish and just say, I need time off, and I need to sit still now, and I need to relax. And I think that helps.
And often that'll give you the perspective that you need, because if you're too close to the problem, often you can't see the wood for the trees in that space. Amy dropped us a voice note as well. Let's hear where she finds herself in the world at the moment.
Hi, good morning, team. I was recently hospitalized, and even though I was staying in hospital, I still found myself responding to work emails. And I just want to find out, how do you go about balancing your mental health and working and establishing boundaries?
Wow.
So I'm going to call you the queen of boundaries. I know you don't always get it right, but it does feel like you get it right more often than the rest of us. How much of an effort does that take? Is that a pattern that you've introduced into your own life? How do you find that way to kind of ring fence yourself in that space?
Those boundaries are so important, and like you said, it's not always possible to get it right. But what I've made the decision on doing is I have multiple email addresses for each company that I work for. I have chosen not to have them on my phone. So when I'm at radio, I only get my radio emails between a certain time. When I'm here, I only get my emails here at a certain time. That kind of caused some boundaries that I've had to put in place. And when I do take time off and I go on holiday, or not that that's always possible, but I want to take a bit of a break, I can't get myself to delete the icon off my phone, but I move it to the back, to the very last side, and you don't see it. And
to the back of the queue, yeah.
What I've done is I've turned all notifications off on emails, messages, even social media, so that I only see it when I choose to go into it. And then there's not that little red number hovering over your head, like, ooh, there's something that needs my attention.
You've just solved both problems of cell phone addiction and burnout in one go.
Turn off the notifications.
Isn't it often we hear people say, you know what, they're scared to speak to their boss about the situation. They're feeling they're coming to a burnout, but they don't know how to approach and speak to their boss about feeling this way. How would you suggest our listeners and our viewers approach this and say, you know what, I need time out?
Absolutely. First of all, very importantly, it is very important to have a constructive conversation with your line manager or direct report about your situation, and not a casual talk. Because I've had one client who was, I'm going to talk to him about it over lunch. Well, he's just going to say maybe, oh, you know, just have a day off. You'll get it together, and not handle it as seriously as it is. So it is important to find the right time and get your direct line and say, we have a situation, and I like to bring it to your attention, and this is my situation, and this is how I would deal with it, and I would really invite your suggestions as to assist me. You know, and that is one of the most constructive approaches of dealing with it, to not be on your own, but to bring in and make your direct line report aware of your situation, and then you can work together on how are you going to progress out of that.
And I love that, because the second you ask for their advice and they open their mouths, they're emotionally invested in the outcome.
Absolutely.
They will get on board, and I think this goes to Amy specifically. As essential as you think you are to your company running, that you need to be operating emails from hospital, they will get on without you, I think. You can take that time. But the bottom line is no one is immune to burnout, doesn't matter where you sit in life. And we are learning and taking better care of ourselves, and maybe perhaps finding new ways to manage ourselves and those expectations before reaching that breaking point. It's essential that we do it.
Absolutely. Take that leave, go on that walk, and find your inner peace. Your future self will thank you for it. However, we have Marsha here to perform just for us. So, Marsha, please go on over.
Help us through this burnout, girl.
And she is doing something so fitting. Her next performance is called Stronger, and hopefully this will inspire you to be stronger and that you don't face a burnout. So, Marsha, take it away.